Trials with dressage, cross-country and show jumping phases. There are team and individual competitions for riders from the 16 areas in the New Zealand Pony Clubs Association. Reporting from Riccarton, TVNZ equestrian commentator Brian O'Flaherty.
Welcome to Christchurch and the 1985 New Zealand Pony Club Championships, held on one of the most historic racetracks in New Zealand, Riccarton, and hopefully a step to greatness for some of New Zealand's junior horse trial riders. There are 83 pony clubs in New Zealand, 12,000 riding members, and those 12,000 have been distilled for this event down to 96, 16 teams of 6. All riders are under 21. The senior division, known as the A1 section, the riders are aged between 17 and 20. The rest of them, the Dorothy Campbell division, named after the founder of the Pony Club back in 1947, are all under 17. They face a test of 3 disciplines in dressage, in cross-country riding and in show jumping, and by far the greatest emphasis in these 3 is that of the cross-country course, designed by a lady who has won 3 of these junior titles herself, Diana Bain. The way around a cross-country course can often be very scenic, but your average rider hardly has time to appreciate the fact. In the shadow of the Southern Alps, the setting for a winter championship could hardly be more beautiful. First phase of it is the dressage phase, not the most important one, but a chance to show at close quarters just how disciplined a horse can be. Chief Dressage Judge Pam Reed.
Well, dressage is basically the training of your horse for obedience and to make it a nicer ride.
In that context, what do we mean by obedience as you look at a horse in the dressage arena?
Well, I'm looking for a horse that's looking happy, on the bit. Is that too technical to say? That it's going forward freely. I don't know, that the rider looks relaxed, the horse is relaxed, they're happy with each other.
That intangible factor known as nerves often decides the degree of happiness. But how does an experienced rider feel just minutes before the test?
Quite relaxed, actually. My horse is not upset, which is a really good thing for him because he does get a wee bit uptight. So as long as he stays cool, I'll be fine.
Waikato, which had a great run of success in the 70s, sent down one of the strongest teams that it's had at a championship for years, and one of the leading A1 contenders is Bernice Muir of Te Awamutu, riding a very good-looking chestnut, Happy Wanderer. Like so many of the horses in the eventing scene these days, he's a thoroughbred, son of Wandering Eyes, who was a very successful sire of racehorses. This particular Wandering Eyes horse has been equally successful for Bernice as an eventer. It's quite obvious as he goes through his test that she's achieved that result with a lot of hard work. Probably the critical thing in this phase, as it is, I guess, in all 3 phases, is the horse's attention to the rider. If you watch Happy Wanderer's ears, you'll see them flicking as he's both watching where he's going and responding to the aids that Bernice applies. That halt there, perhaps not as square as it might be. The legs could be a little better aligned, but he certainly was immobile. No fidgeting. Transition to the canter, pretty smooth. He has actually won a 2-day event and that was in open competition. So here at what amounts to the National Junior Championships, he's certainly one of the form horses. Judges are interested to see how deeply she goes into those corners and then how straight Happy Wanderer is as he comes down the long side of the arena. And again, up here where the judges are, they watch to see that she doesn't cut the corner. They look for balance in that canter. And they look for smoothness in those transitions from canter down to trot and trot to walk. This is one of the most difficult movements in any dressage test. The walk on a long rein. He's expected to stretch his neck down, to relax. And it's not the easiest thing to do in this tense atmosphere. Transition to canter right on the mark there at M. Change of leg in the middle of the arena to go on to the left rein. All the time, Happy Wanderer, content in his work, moving easily for Bernice, not fighting her. And let's not forget that while she's achieving these results, she has to look good herself. Straight back, square shoulders. Lengthening of stride down the long side, and she's certainly got some lengthening there. It's a demanding move, because of course when the pressure goes on, there is a temptation for a horse to break into a canter. A big smile from the lady from Te Awamutu signals that she's finished what's probably the most tense part of this three-discipline competition. Bernice Muir, Happy Wanderer, still under surveillance as they leave the ring because the test is not finished until they're out the gate. But I think that smile conveyed a measure of satisfaction to which Bernice was entitled.
Started off quite nicely, and then, as you say, the half circles were quite good. Then he became, you know, a bit uptight, and we had this head resistance through here.
He was a little bit tender, and I had to put an extra sheepskin on before I went, which caused a few problems as far as my time went getting in the arena. He went quite well.
That was quite an achievement then for you to do that quick change of gear and still get in there and be unruffled as you seemed to be. And he also seemed to be quite contented.
I was panicking a wee bit that I was going to run out of time, but everything went fine.
Well, it didn't show, and I don't think it influenced the judges too much. 30.22 put you well up in the running with 2 jumping phases to go. But you mentioned before having to change the sheepskin because of the sore back. I understand that wasn't the only sore back in that particular test. The pair of you have had problems recently, is that right?
I've had a wee slight trouble with my, at the base of my spine, came out and a wee, what would you call it, just a hassle.
Kind of an extreme sort of boil.
Yes, very extreme, and I've been unable to ride for the last 4 days, and it's only been yesterday that I was able to hop on and give him some light work, and as yet I haven't walked the cross country because of that.
You couldn't even walk the cross country because you were so sore.
Yes.
You have actually had some minor surgery done on it, and it's coming right.
Yes.
To me, it was probably up and beyond the average pony club test. It looked very professional to me. We were all in agreement. There was sort of unanimous sigh of happiness when that girl came on. It was a polished performance, no way about it.
No
The
sign
horse
of the
was-
problems that she'd had? The horse had a sore back?
Well, it certainly didn't pick up to us, no. I gave some very high marks to that girl, and all credit to her.
Vicky Hammond from Southland is one of the most experienced riders in the championships this year. She's 20, and a week before the Pony Club Championships here in New Zealand, she actually rode as a member of a team of young riders representing New Zealand, I guess you'd say, in a 3-day event in Racecourse in South Australia.
It's okay, I know it. Yeah.
Bit of a
It's
problem
all right.
there with
I
a
know what
course
I'm
error,
doing now.
I should say. She seems very happy about things and quite relaxed. Quite often you'll find a young rider is completely thrown astray by something that goes wrong. Vicky obviously coping pretty well with a situation there, which could have been a very difficult one for her had she allowed the tension to rise and perhaps forgotten a large section of the test. In fact, probably all that will happen is that she'll be penalised 2 points for a course error. Vicky is pretty versatile. She's also a pretty enthusiastic show jumper in the summer season. And in fact, she has been a member of the South Island show jumping team, as well as acquitting herself very well in the eventing scene. Looks, however, as if she wasn't perhaps quite as relaxed as she seemed. And in fact, she has made a second course error. What went wrong?
I'm not sure, I just sort of forgot it when I got out there. I think we get a few blanks sometimes. You
Tension,
learn it, yeah. You learn it and then things just don't go as planned.
Ever happened to you before?
Oh yeah,
It has?
never at champs.
Champs are an annual holiday for many enthusiasts. What do they want of this carnival of the horse?
Probably just to see the kids enjoy themselves. If most of them get around, they, the cross country and do all right in the dressage, they enjoy themselves. That's the big thing.
It's very exciting, beautiful horses, very well groomed, very well turned out, and it's tremendous to watch.
But there are only 13 boys among 96 competitors.
Boys perhaps not so interested in dressage, but when it comes to cross country, that's where I think they can shine.
Because they're not as good.
There don't seem to be many boys competing in these championships. Why do you think that is?
Scared, I think.
I don't think there's many boys competing here because a lot of girls, they seem to enjoy it. A lot more boys seem to enjoy things like motocross than maybe BMX or something like that.
Bruce Gooden of Tikawhata is 15 and riding in the DC division on Caledonian, but he has a family example to follow in the form of his father David. He's a big boy, and later in the year he did in fact turn to horses and ride in the 3-day event at Taupo, not only for himself but deputising for Dad as well.
We live on a dairy farm.
So you've been around horses all your life?
My father represented New Zealand on the first horse to go to the Olympics, although he didn't ride it there, but he and his brother started the horse off.
The DC group may be the first level of national competition, but even here there's a premium on training and discipline, as well as on fitness. In the dressage phase, it's less a matter of strength and size than technique and sympathy with the horse. Caledonian seems happy, and his test yielded a mark of 38.89, placing him 7th after this critical phase. Among the A1 riders, it was clear after the first day that Bernice Muir was the one to beat, but a canny bookmaker would have offered no fancy odds about her Waikato teammate Judith Charleston, already the winner of the DC Trophy in 1981 on high rate. He's a better horse now than he was then, relaxed, content, with a rider who knows how to handle pressure. High rate's not interested in what's going on outside the ring. His attention's devoted entirely to Judith, and that's the way it has to be. Not just for safety's sake out on the cross country, but for the sake of precision in this phase. It's an even rhythm to the movement of his feet. Smooth, regular, cadence that can take years to achieve. And in a matter of 4 or 5 minutes, those years are condensed into one single performance at championship level. Just the trace of a smile. Well, a mark of 25.33 gave her the lead. Not by a lot, but she was the pacemaker. Judith Charleston, high rate. Those are the two to beat. With this combination, plus Bernice and Happy Wanderer, Waikato looks very well placed with the cross-country phase to come up next. Now, one of the things, of course, that is basic to the sport is the training in this discipline to enable a horse to perform better in the cross-country jumping and the show jumping. How are the two connected?
Well, if your horse is obedient on the flat and answering to your aids, both your legs and your hands, your seat, it must be more obedient over jumps and over fences. I think, I can't think of an example, but you've all seen Mark Todd riding, and you know how there is the rapport between horse and rider there. The horse is looking happy, both in dressage and in his jumping. I don't know whether that's a fair example.
You think that starts on the flat?
I'm sure it starts on the flat.
Uh-huh. For Judith Charleston, it started with a win on the flat, but there wasn't a lot in it with those two Waikato girls up there, head and head, with less than a show jumping rail and certainly not a fault across country between them. Happy Wanderer and Bernice Muir right there waiting to profit if Judith and High Rate made a mistake across country. And that was what was coming up next, the crucial phase out there over the big fences.
Hi, I'm here to tell you about an amazing...
New Zealand Pony Club Championships at the Riccarton Racecourse in Christchurch for the most spectacular of the three phases, the cross country. Commentator is Brian O'Flaherty.
Cross country day at Riccarton, dawn proverbially crisp and clear. Canterbury really turned on a stunner for the big day of the Pony Club Championships. The terrain didn't offer a lot of variety. It was largely flat, but Mrs. Bain's fences certainly did offer some challenges. And first out was Mary Wayne, teammate of the two leaders, Judith Charleston and Bernice Muir. She's riding a horse called Aristocrat, who has a tremendous stride, and he went there through the Pine Gould Guinness kennels. There was a lot of debate about the kennels and the fairness of them in some people's minds, because it was what's termed a compulsory bounce. There was no way through except to go through in a single stride. Still, there never was a cross-country course built yet that didn't provoke a lot of debate. The trustee bank provided very few problems. The going was certainly perfect. Firm footing. It's the kind of thing that Riccarton is well known for, even on many grand national occasions. Across the 1,200-metre chute there on the racecourse proper, now into the trees at the Big M. Combination of posts and rails, but problems here at what was probably the most controversial complex in the whole course. 4 fences in close succession. Mary, unfortunately, coming over the Monia tiles there, just went out the front door when Aristocrat saw the drop down to the hewn pipes, and for that, of course, she picked up 60 penalties. 20 penalties for a straight refusal, 60 if horse and rider had the misfortune to be departed. Over the hewn pipes now, up the climb to the Metabo pylon. Another fence which caused a good deal of discussion, and then out over the footbridge. Mary Wayne from Tokoroa, part of the Waikato team. Unfortunately, she finished with a 3-figure score. Julie Saroy now for Ashburton, South Canterbury, North Otago, riding a very seasoned campaigner in Mr. Hagen. Another thoroughbred, a son of Copenhagen II, who was an extremely successful sire in the racing circle. At the kennels now, and you can see the short bounce through there, just one stride, but there is room for it. Although, as it turned out, it was a fence which claimed more victims in terms of faults, not falls, but faults, than any other fence on the day. Julie, one of the leading hopes for the South Island at the trustee bank there. Drop fences, there weren't too many of those. They're very hard on a horse's forelegs, and there's always a limit to what a course builder can do in the way of putting drop fences into a course. Now over these 2 in quick succession, and then to the starting stalls, the Sockburn Ford starting stalls, and they too claimed a few victims. Now at the big M in the trees. A little bit of verbal encouragement there from Julie. Now she comes to the tiles, no problems there. Mr. Hagan looks at those pipes over those. Julie pushing with everything she's got from tonsils onwards. Back down into the water and taking the short route over the footbridge. Big round of applause for the local girl. She was 13th after the dressage. She went clear across country and she finished, in fact, a comfortable 21 seconds inside the time allowed. Angela Holt now from Hawke's Bay riding Flanagan. She's coming across the flat to the trustee bank, up onto that big bank. About 1.5 meters, perhaps a little more, the drop, and then through the water with Flanagan, Angela Holt. They too went clear across country. Lynn Clark from Taranaki wasn't so lucky. Somersault that Comaneci would have been proud of there as Buccaneer decided that he wanted a second look at those kennels. These are in fact literally kennels. They are divided into runs. There was fencing between the runs, but that was removed after the fence was built on the grounds of safety. But there are still railings running through there to channel a horse from the picket gates in front to the kennels behind. Lynn Clark and Buccaneer now going back for a second attempt. And of course it's part of the horse sport that will happen the second time around. A horse will go through just as easily as if the fence wasn't there. Very seasoned combination, Lynn and Buccaneer. They've had a great deal of success. Sadly, today wasn't their day. Safely through the drop. Many a rider you'll see sitting back a little as the horse lands over the drop fence, just to absorb the impact of the landing. Now at the big M, cleanly through there. And the tiles. You can see these horses checking as they come down the hill. There's only about a stride flat ground there after they land over those Monia tiles before they drop down to the Humes pipe. A little bit close to that did Buccaneer. It's a very demanding complex there. It requires a very calm, very well balanced horse as well as a strong one. And Clark and Buccaneer on their way for Taranaki. Marie Brunton from Waitemata Rodney goes through the kennels on High Time. Not a name as well known as those of Happy Wanderer and High Rate, but High Time certainly gave the form book a bit of a shake with an outstanding dressage test which left him 4th on a score of 35.33. At the trustee bank now, an easy drop there. Marie just sitting back a little. Quick change of leg coming through the creek there as the climb to the pylon starts. Very energetic performance through that complex for High Time, who actually finished 41 seconds under the optimum time. Not everybody so lucky, however. Sunspot Supreme sadly eliminated with Jackie Davis after 2 refusals and a fall. And Bilbo, Greta Carson from Northland, second victim in a row after Sunspot Supreme of the Sockburn Ford starting stalls. Caitlin Metz now from Bay of Plenty. And Captain Mac pulling off the trustee bank. It's a little bit difficult to see why they chose to do that. It wasn't certainly any form of refusal. And when Captain Mac's presented to the bank, he takes it without any problems. Through this combination, which takes them back onto the course proper now. Well, not a combination, 2 separate fences, but at the Sockburn starting stall, sadly, Captain Mac struck very hard, and at that point, Caitlin was unfortunately forced to retire. It wasn't a happy championship for the Poverty Bay team. Bernice Muir now and Happy Wanderer, and because of the damage done to the starting stall gates a little further along the course, Bernice and Happy Wanderer were flagged down at this point. And it's one of the most difficult things that can happen to a rider. Nadine Taylor now had also been flagged on, sent away again across the trustee bank. And now Happy Wanderer coming across the same stretch of ground. To be stopped in the middle of a course just does everything that a rider, to destroy what a rider sets out to achieve in the way of rhythm and flow for a course. But it didn't seem to bother Happy Wanderer unduly. Over those two close fences at the Sockburn Ford starting stalls there, which must have been a bit of a worry by that time for the Waikato team, but Happy Wanderer certainly went through without any difficulties, and the Big M. And now this combination, which claimed more than its share of victims, didn't lay a toe on any of that timber. Happy Wanderer on the way with Bernice Miyoshi, takes the long way through the last part of that combination, but still finished comfortably inside the optimum time. Tony Morrissey now and Carlos having problems at the kennels. Carlos doesn't even want to jump the first element. 2 refusals, 20 for the first, 40 for the second, so that's a total of 60 so far, and if Carlos doesn't jump this time, sadly he'll be out of the competition. And that's elimination, unfortunately, for Tony and Carlos. Bryce Newman now from Kawerau, riding for Bay of Plenty, 2 brothers, in fact, in the Bay of Plenty team, the Newman brothers. And Tomlin, Bryce's mount, former junior championship winner, made short work of the kennels. The grey horse now is Icarus in the hands of Rachel Morgan. Fortunately struck trouble at the Big M. Amigo now, Vicky Hammond, problems of the dressage phase behind her at the kennels. And it's perhaps an ideal jump for a high-action horse. A lot of standard bred in Amigo, and he certainly bounced through there without any problems. Going to the starting stalls, through those neatly enough too. Big M, which was a ditch and rail combination, now down across the tiles, the pipes. Didn't change leg coming out of the creek, as so many of these horses will. And the short way out of that complex across the footbridge. Amigo and Vicky Hammond finished 13th overall despite their problems in the first phase. Dean Hawthorne now from Hawke's Bay, 5-5 at the Trustee Bank. Just a handful of boys in the competition, as we noted, but Dean is one who's making a determined bid for a high placing in this junior championship. On his way through that complex without too many problems at all. Yvette Bate now and Tamarisk, quite a matter rod. It's an unorthodox way of dealing with the kennels, but they're through and on their way. Felicity Pallison now and Meshach coming back to the course proper at Riccarton. 20 penalties there for a refusal. Second time of asking. Meshach safely over that solid fence. Across the starting stalls, coming through the trees now to the Big M. Can pose problems, and it has indeed for Felicity and Meshach. They're reunited. Another quick change of leg through the water. One more chance now for Felicity and Meshach. Left a leg behind, but he's safely across the pylon. Not too keen to go back into the water. Well, it is cold in Christchurch in the winter. Problems over there with Leanne Reid and Hotshot. Franklin Thames Valley. Safely over the pylon this time. Short way out. Lots of pushing going on there. But safely through the most difficult complex. Meantime, Mishak still providing Felicity with problems at the footbridge, which is the last and perhaps the easiest in this complex. Judith Charleston now. High rate. Long raking stride. Heating up the acres at Riccarton. Very seasoned combination when you look to the fact that they've won the junior division of this championship several seasons ago. There's obviously a lot of mileage behind these two. Leading after the dressage, a beautiful bounce through the Pine Gold Guinness kennels. Chance to make some time now across the open stretch to the Trustee Bank. That rhythmic stride is what the rider seeks to maintain all the way around. Easy drop off there for the big chestnut. Time's not really going to be a problem on this kind of terrain for a horse with this scope. And so far, neither of the fences. At those starting stalls now, straight through. The Big M, no problems there either. And now this Hoodoo complex. Another quick change of leg for high rate too. Not a break in the rhythm. He is pricked. He's looking for his work all the way through. Short way out over the footbridge. Up the bank and on his way, and he will finish 47 seconds under the optimum time.
Good girl.
Zena Chart, Malika now. Plenty of support from the sidelines for all of these riders. Well, it was a testing day across country. And I guess it's a matter of debate whether the course achieved what a designer would want, or more than a designer would want. The cash flow there, another of the varied fences. Helen Sanson, Delaware now having problems at the pylon. Could have been worse. 20 penalties for refusal, but at least Helen saved another 40 by sticking to the plate and not falling off. As the last riders make their way toward the end of this cross-country phase, I think you'd have to say that it has certainly served its purpose in sorting out these competitors. 22 out of 48 riders went clear. 13 riders did not finish at all, and the other 13 finished with faults. And of course, at the end of this phase, Waikato a stranglehold on the team's title. Judith Charleston leading, and Bernice Muir and Happy Wanderer in second place. Pretty strong representation from the North Island, because lying third individually, we had Marie Brunton with High Time, and then Dean Hawthorne doing best of the male contingent, with Double Five also going clear. They're the top four after a very testing ride across some of these tough fences. Adrian Arnold here from Manawatu West Coast with 50-50. And she went clear. Next to come, the DC cross country and the show jumping.
With final scores from all 3 representative matches in New Zealand today are in. First of all, from the Palmerston North Showgrounds, Manawatu and Otago take a point each in their first Division outing of the season. Martini Love scored the try for Manawatu, the extra points coming from Mark Finlay, a conversion and a penalty. Greg Cooper kicking all 9 points for Otago with 3 penalties. In the second division match at the Ashburton Showgrounds, the hero for Wanganui was Steve Gordon, the second 5/8. He scored 2 tries, and for Mid-Canterbury, a Huey Gordon try right on full time brought them to a very close result in the end by 12 points to 7. They went down. In the non-championship game, it was King Country who beat Thames Valley by 27 points to 6. Well, now we return to our coverage of the New Zealand Pony Club Championships at the Riccarton Racecourse in Christchurch. Still to come, we have the A1 show jumping, but now we return to the Dorothy Campbell cross country for under 17 riders. And here's Brian O'Flaherty.
Cross-country phase for the DC competitors in the championships. Just as testing for the younger ones. Cynthia Taylor and Little Lucifer now making their way through that 4-fence complex. Safely over the pylon. Taking the long option around the footbridge, which is wise. It's quicker than having a refusal. And now coming through the trees with every stride, strengthening the Waikato stranglehold on the team's trophy. Bridget Cashmore with Casino. Well placed after the dressage. In the top 6. The long legs perhaps saving her from a spill at the early part of that complex, but well on her way. Finishing clear. Emma Stutoff now from Canterbury Westland and Second Thoughts.
She's underway, heading up towards the first on the journey.
Well away. Now Tullamore and Katrina McFarlane. Katrina's checks. Just shortening the stride a little bit as she brings Tullamore up onto that trusty bank. But a little bit too much of a check there at the top of that rise, and she picks up 60 penalties for parting company with the grey. Bad luck for Katrina, but that's what happens when you find the brakes going on very quickly. Tullamore back into the complex now. And they get away very well. Deirdre Brown now and Cameo Ladd. Popping the pylon without any problems. Just wrapped it perhaps. Now Kirsten Campfell and Purdy, and they're really striking out as they cover that ground. And Purdy puts the brakes on when he sees that drop to the Humes pipe. Kirsten takes a very heavy toss. There's help at hand, however, medical attendance too. Kirsten was slightly concussed and she retired at this point.
Come on.
Sarah Jane Ray now encouraging Bo Jingles. And another pocketful of penalties picked up at the pylon. Paula Bygrave at the kennels now. Legend Royalty. Another very firm set of brakes. And another 60 penalties too, sadly, for a combination which was lying second after the dressage. Legend Royalty and Paula. Gate is taken off the front. It'll be replaced, and Legend Royalty will make his second attempt at the kennels. His fences have been lowered, of course, for the DC division, but they're still providing the challenge. This time Legend Royalty bounces through without any problems, and Paula's on her way. At the Big M now, Legend Royalty down to a trot well back from it, and unfortunately that was as far as he went, eliminated at the Big M. Richard Gardner now and Tiranga Pepperpot. Still a magnificent day here at Christchurch. Spectators revelling in the sunshine or relaxing. Narrow escape there for Richard. Pepperpot's running hot as he comes across the pylon. Short route over the footbridge. And by this stage, of course, the spectators are appreciating just what an achievement it is to push a pony through that complex. Kate Horn now. Royal Blaze and... oh! Well, somebody had to christen the creek, and it was Kate. Bad luck. What a slippery ride that's going to be for the rest of the way for Kate Horn. 60 penalties again for parting company, but happily nothing more serious. And the spectators certainly appreciate the fact that she's carrying on. And now Charlotte Young and Rivard setting out to hold the lead that they set in the dressage phase, going for an end-to-end victory and heading out very well. Now the complex. How will she handle this pylon? Oh, bold jump, a confident horse. Up the bank now, the long option down to the footbridge. But Charlotte has this course thoroughly figured out, and she will go clear to take that lead into the show jumping. And now Bruce Gooden and Caledonian. Getting near the end of the day for the cross-country phase. Safely over the first. Plenty more to come. Bruce is a young man with a lot of experience.
Steady. Good boy.
Louise Trumper and Bannister now come up out of the cash flow. 3 fences from home. This is the lucky dog roll. A quick double. Bannister's through it cleanly. And as he heads for home, he'll be the horse who lodges the major challenge to Rivard and Charlotte Young. Second and third in the dressage dropped away across country, and so if Rivard doesn't go clear, Bannister and Louise Trumper stand to benefit enormously. It's been a testing course. About 25% of them have gone clear. And there's still the show jumping to come.
Rivard, I should say, and this is the one to watch, ladies and gentlemen, because at the moment she's sitting on her dressage score, which she won with. 53.78 was her dressage score. She went clear in the cross country and is currently sitting on first position. Rivard.
Beautifully schooled Arab cross Rivard. And that schooling will have to stand to him in the next few seconds. 5 faults for a rail down in this discipline, the final phase, and he cannot afford a single rail because Bannister is waiting to pounce. Can Rivard take this title to the South Island for the first time in many years? He must go clear.
A call for John Ewan, please. John Ewan, could you please go to the Franklin Thames Valley camp, please?
And that's it. He's through the flags, he's clear, and Charlotte Young is the winner of the Dorothy Campbell Trophy for 1985.
Third time to the Pony Club Championships, and she's won the DC. And Caledonian, all clear on the dressage, no problems there. Still on a dressage score of 38.99, has climbed from 7th place for the dressage to 4th place now.
Bruce Gooden now, with Caledonian needing a clear round to maintain his high placing in this DC division.
Now a call for Nicky McLagan. Nicky McLagan, would you please report back to the Wairarapa Wellington floats, please? Nicky McLagan to the Wairarapa Wellington floats, please.
Well, they say long legs are an advantage to a horseman. If that's true, then Bruce certainly has a major asset. Big boy for 15. Obviously has a great understanding with Caledonian.
Now a call for Pat and Joan Crane. Pat and Joan Crane, would you please report to the Secretary's caravan immediately? And that's a clear round for...
And the understanding holds good to the finish. Bruce goes clear with Caledonian.
So he stays on 4th position.
For Franklin Thames Valley.
Bannister now. Louise Trumper. Last to go. Rivard can't be beaten. But Bannister must go clear to hold second. Certainly feeling no ill effects from his cross-country exertions, Bannister. Louise checking, just keeping him balanced, keeping him in the right stride for his fences. Clear round for Bannister will be a tremendous boost for Hawke's Bay, coupled with double fives performance for Dean Hawthorne. And a clear round is exactly what she achieves. Louise Trumper rather, from Hawke's Bay riding Bannister, finishes second, and so the placings for the DC division of the Pony Club Championships decided. The winner, Charlotte Young from Southland riding Rivard, runner-up Louise Trumper from Hawke's Bay on Bannister. Third place went to Bridget Cashmore riding Casino for that all-conquering Waikato team. Caledonian and Bruce Goodin were fourth for Franklin Thames Valley, and in fifth place Geoffrey Taylor and Sexton Blake. And now Julie Soroy in the A1 show jumping, her seventh and last ride at the Pony Club Championships. Judith Charleston holding the lead at this point. Bernice Muir lying second. Julie well up in the running for Ashburton, North Otago, South Canterbury. On a very consistent horse, Mr. Hagen.
And that's the clear round for...
And consistent is the word. Mr. Hagen goes clear. Julie Soroy finishes sixth overall. Now Marie Brunton, high time. They don't have a rail to spare over Dean Hawthorne and double five. Must go clear to hold their third placing. She might have taken lessons from Charisma when it comes to rattling rails, but she's still clear. And that's the way she stays. High time, Marie Brunton, third in the A1 trophy.
And the Buccaneer, I'll just run through the faults for the cross country if you're keeping scores, ladies and gentlemen. 100. We looked down to our first place theatre, which was High Rate. We thought she'd gone clear.
Happy Wanderer now. Bernice Muir.
35.33, so there's a difference there of about 5.
Lying second after two superlative performances. She'll need more than a little bit of good luck to take this trophy away from Judith Charleston, because Judith has a shade more than a rail in hand. Immaculate as ever, Happy Wanderer. Certainly his showing in Christchurch turned out to be a very good form guide, because about 3 weeks later he went to Taupo, where he won the intermediate division of the 3-day event. without any question, his form now must place him somewhere in the running for a position in the New Zealand team to the World Championships in South Australia next May. Happy Wanderer.
Well, that's clear.
And he's clear too, so Bernice Muir
I don't think there'll be too much problems with that.
ties another knot in the ribbon which will seal the Waikato team's victory. Just remains to be seen now whether High Rate and Judith Charleston can maintain their outstanding form through this last phase.
Dean Hawthorne from Hawke's Bay.
Dean Hawthorne now, however, trying for a little bit more male representation in the minor placings. Very promising young horseman in his own right, and the son of a man who's been an all-round horseman, Norman Hawthorne of Hawke's Bay. One-time top rodeo rider, currently one of the most progressive and certainly one of the most successful thoroughbred breeders at his Paramount stud. Here today, very proud to be watching his son Dean.
Well, there's the clear round for Dean Hawthorne riding double 5.
What a great performance for Hawke's Bay. Minor place getters in both divisions. And now the lady who is facing the final test, Judith Charleston. Certainly not unfamiliar with these situations of pressure and tension. And a lady who has a pretty relaxed outlook on things, at least to the casual onlooker, and who seems to be very well equipped to handle the occasion. Judith Charleston now, High Rate. Judith had little idea what lay ahead of her as she completed this championship, because a week later she was contesting the National One-Day Championship at Nelson when she was summoned urgently to Auckland to bring High Rate into the New Zealand team for Gawler in South Australia in June. The team won the Trans-Tasman Cup at Gawler, and High Rate won his clearance to compete in the World Championships next year if he's selected. The last.
Well, there are, ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner.
Well, what a stunning end to a very successful pony club career. Judith Charleston and High Rate, winners of the A1 Cup for 1985, to add to the DC Trophy that they won a few seasons back.
Olympics, and has ridden 6 times at the championships, not 4. James Neal, Lonnie Donegan.
Marlborough Nelson now, Tracy Powell with Lonnie Donegan.
39.33 in 5th place.
Looking to put those Marlborough Nelson colours into the minor placings. Lonnie Donegan still pretty keen as he draws towards the end of his championship. Maybe it's the thought of a skiffle board at home. One more to go.
Pardon me, all that excitement. And now it's to equestrian sport as we look at highlights from the 3-day horse event trials held at